with with on their own terms. When you come to the Lord, you come with his terms. Most people don't want to do that because and I think part of that is, that's an allegory. That's like I'm gonna call it an allegory for life as well. Terms. Oh, hold on. When you come to the Lord, you come with, I think a lot of people, that's part of that whole notion of living life to the fullest. Living life to the fullest is, living life in a way that is actually dangerous. Really? Especially when you hear young people live life to the fullest, that means make a whole bunch of bad decisions. You end up in the clinic. You you know what I'm saying? You're drinking hard, you're partying hard, you're making terrible decisions. That's living life to the fullest. I think jumping out of a plane that's part of the ego or the personality as well. That that leads people to do certain things. But yeah, yes, sir. All right. What are we gonna talk about? What was on deck? Anybody want to bring something up that they looked at or
balloons?
Say again. The
balloons.
Balloons. You want to talk about balloons?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Party City.
Party City. How you say that in Chinese? All right.
Shoot. I don't even know. But I seen I watched a few news sources today online, and some people are speculating that was like a test run for what could be. They said perhaps that balloon could be used to detonate an EMP. But I don't know. I think the whole balloon fiasco is just a provocation of war. The response that China gave, it was like, I don't know, but it's some rough times ahead though, for sure.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. It is like a provocation in the sense of you think, well, it was actually a provocation on their part, but to think that it's just as simple as shooting it down and that's the end, I think that's a very simplistic way to approach the situation. This is not checkers. Only ones playing tic-tac-toe is the ones over here. Some people playing 4D chess because now you have a reason. Even though you the one that started, you could say, how dare you do this? You think they didn't know that the United States was going to eventually shoot it down? Why did they? It's not like they did. This is, I don't believe they just miscalculated something. We're going to send it over there, hope they don't shoot it down. You send it over there for the world to see. So you had a number of reasons as to why you did that. So yeah. I don't know if the United States, they probably did. I'm sure they have the best military advisors, but I mean, what do you think? Because even China, what did they say? They say, we have the right to respond, right? I'm paraphrasing. So what is that response going to be?
Right. It seems like the higher ups are compromised.
That's it. It. Yes. Just and I was about to say that because there's not the skill that's not there. It's you're compromised. Kind of like I think Brother Isaiah put it in the chat. Canada compromised by China. You compromised. You're embedded so far into the system with personnel. You got thousands of spies, and then you got monetary people being monetarily compromised. So yeah, brother, that EMP, which is people don't know, is electric magnetic pulse. That will stop everything electronic. So everything from your laptop to your car to the machine or whatever pumps your water, all of that would stop, and you would see total chaos.
Mm.
You would see total chaos in the streets in a matter of hours.
Somebody said only over 90% of the population would die within a span of like no less than a year if the EMP was to detonate, because of how much the system is dependent on just computers, and
Mhm.
get your food. Your food is ordered through a computer, like at grocery stores and stuff like that. The system wouldn't be able to survive for too long if the EMP did go off.
Yeah, and the response of because not just it's not like people would look at it and say, well, we're in trouble, let's help each other. People would resort back to what they are,
Right, savage.
Yeah, and savagery would be, especially if you're entitled, you'll see what people are. People are, this is actually, we talk about it in the recent years, this is the most safe time in human history. It's because of civilization is so advanced, but the breakdown of civilization shows you what man is. Civilization is that's why it's so dangerous when you have things that break civilization, or destroy civilization, because civilization is what lets you sleep at night, even though you still have things that go on, obviously. But yeah, man, if you'll see what man's real nature is if they can't flush the toilet and they can't have water, and they don't have food. So we're totally dependent upon a system that is very volatile. We saw that with the logistics with COVID. Logistics breakdowns. And, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of let me go back. It's been a couple of articles that came out. I was looking for one on Newsweek, but I don't know. Anybody else had anything on that?
Yeah, I just wonder what's going to happen. What's going to happen next? What is going to be their China's response to it? That's kind of what I wonder about it. Yeah, it's uncertain times, but we know that war is like
Imminent.
right down the line. We know, yeah, it's gonna happen. We know it. Like,
it's all, yeah.
I heard this one guy saying that this was a little bit while back with the war with Ukraine, and he was playing these videos with certain people, talking about certain representatives, talking about the whole Ukraine thing and stuff like that, and like they pretty much knew that was going to happen. That things were set to be on the edge like that, and it finally poured over. So it's kind of like with this situation, we hear this kind of talk all the time with China, things that's going on with this beef that we got with China. So we know that's that's down the line. Just everything is just adding up to that time. Everything is building up to it. So
yeah, I was just looking at when you said that, reminded me of this that I saw. U.S. This is a few days ago, about 6 days ago. U.S. general's prediction of war with China in 2025 is turning worst fears into reality. This is from Time magazine from the 31st of January. Give me a second here. I can find his name. Friday, when U.S. 4-star General Mike Minahan warned his troops of China, my gut tells me we will fight in 2025. So now the Pentagon says these are not representative of the department's view on China. But I mean, what else are they going to say? Not saying, it's inevitable. These two are vying for the top spot. So yeah, it's in China, I mean, they're already at war, it's just on different levels. It's not full scale war, but it is war nonetheless. It's war with espionage, is war with technology, the stealing of technology, and reverse engineering of it. It's war culturally, it's like it's kind of like you don't know what's happening. It's economic warfare. Now, again, I always say that's what Trump was trying to address. But so I don't know. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Scared. It's just oh, go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say, so, my thing is when stuff like this happen, when I hear about things like this, even with the Ukraine situation last year, what ran across my mind is that when it all starts to hit the fan, how am I prepared for something like that? Or how do I get prepared for a situation like that when things are going to happen, because it's going to affect everybody, So, one of the first things that come to my mind is buying up food, buying up toilet paper, buying up water, things like that, So that's kind of where my mind goes when I see things like this happen. And I was just thinking about the scriptures, and you hear some people talk about, they buy up guns, they try to prepare to fight, but you also need to be prepared to move around. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what you see in the scriptures. Even King David had to move around when Saul was coming. He understood. He understood where he was at. And he wasn't gonna lift up his hand against the Lord's anointing, anyways. But he was very, very brave, very, very courageous. But he had fear, and he knew how to move around. The Lord gave him what he needed, to move around, put people around him. People added on to him, even when he was moving around from Saul. He was going to certain places, and people added on to what he was doing, And in times like this, when things like this happen, you are going to see some people band together. Then it's going to be total chaos at the same time.
Anybody else have anything on what the brother just said?
Well, that kind of reminds me of like all the shows that's preparing you for stuff like this, like The Walking Dead's, the people who have to band together and survive, and it's them against the outside world, right? So they build their own little colonies and build their fortresses and the food, and it's always it's all about compliance and being able to work together in these kind of times of need where we really do need to be preparing. I understand the importance of firearms in this time, of course, because if you have anything, it's about protecting what you have. And that could be, just your family or, your food, your water, the little bit of resources you do have. So if you really look around for the last few years, the whole prepper scene has been, booming, and they've been selling MREs and all types of stuff by the bulk in these last, mainly since like 2018. I remember something came out from Department of Homeland Security about an EMP attack very vividly in like 2018 December. And they were like, they were saying something like most Americans don't have about 2 months of food to survive on. And they were like, prepare now. But this was 2018. So you're talking about 5 years ago. So I guess, they were, they always know the game plan. So basically, yeah, brother. But it's funny how you said toilet paper, like, and it bothers me that people, you go to the store when COVID hit, you had wall units and shelves full of food, okay, and the toilet paper was empty. That just, I was saying to myself, like, in time of need, you worried about that. You can't just get a rag, rags, reusable. You could go to any little pond and wash that out. You get you some toilet paper. That's a one and done. But it was always, it amazed me that people were so concerned about having paper towel and toilet paper. Like these things, we could substitute that out with something else. But yeah, those kind of shows, they do prep your mind though, for similar situations. So I've always looked at them in that aspect, but then I always thought if they were the same people to kind of guide you on how to behave, they also kind of knew how you would behave. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, all right, we teach you how to behave. We're going to be a step ahead of you when you try to run. We're going to be a step ahead of you when you try to plan to do something because we gave you the idea. So get right with the Lord, man. That's the best preparation we could really do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, I guess that and, having some provisions is okay, but definitely the Lord is number one. But yeah, we're in strange times, man. Living in strange times.
Yeah. Austin, you had something?
Yeah, I was what was I gonna say? I was listening to this article that was talking about the current war with Ukraine and the resources that it's taken for them to fund that war. They they don't have. I didn't realize they don't have like another. They don't have a lot of resources to fight a World War III, and so the only resort will be like the nuclear bomb. At least that's what the person. It was not an art. It was a video that I was watching. I forgot I think he was some type of politician or something. I can't remember, but he was basically saying that um, um, there's not enough money and resources to be able to fight the wars like World War II and World War One, like they did in the past. So the only other course is like some other form of warfare, like fortunately, and it's kind of morbid, but a nuclear bomb.
Quick question. When you say they don't have it, because you mentioned Ukraine, are you saying they as Ukraine?
No, the United
You're talking about
States.
United States.
Yeah, the United States. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. The guy, he was saying that Russia has resources to fight Ukraine for I think a few months out, but the resources that the U.S. is sending to Ukraine is depleting by the moment, so much that it'll probably be depleted within I think he said like a week or two span from now, or at least from when he was talking about when he released that video. And he said that that's going to even their resources are going to be even more depleted if China goes and takes Taiwan. So yeah, I only it's bogus, man. It's bogus.
Yeah. I think I mentioned it last week? I don't know, that Russia, they have a different outlook about nuclear war. They look at it as if they could survive it. And so like they have things underground for just citizens in general, as we have the approach where if it happens, it's all over anyway. And I don't think, it's in general, US citizens are not prepared for anything like that. Just generally, and certainly not spiritually. They're not prepared for, our lives are really soft, So yeah. That, and we're going back to what Brother Will was saying about prep, and you do see that notion, and you look at Joseph and silos that he established to prepare for the famine. I mean, life is total conflict, and you go through periods of having and have not. So in the periods that you have, so you need to put something away. That's a principle that you see. But when you talk about running, I think about even the communities that were established, and I'm in no way, shape, or form disparaging any communities that are trying to be self-sufficient. People, but I know there's no place to hide. You know, there's no place to really hide, you know. You know, if you could be self-sufficient as possible, but there's no, because we live in a, you know, the technology makes it's actually a prison, you know. It's a prison, so you can't really run. I mean, if you got technology, basic technology that can see through walls, you know, biometrics, you know, they can look at your gait, how you walking, and tell it's you. It's not really, you know, where you gonna go. You know, I think about that, you know, I'm next to it. I mean, I'm literally like 30 seconds away from an expressway, you know, but then, you know, where you going? You know, so, but I don't know. I don't know. In a second, what else are you supposed to talk about? No, I had it written down. Man, y'all don't put so much stuff in the chat. I can't find it. Okay, hold on. I think I put in the AI arms race. Any thoughts about that? Artificial intelligence. I was looking at today, I was looking at chat bot. This what is it? Chat GPT, is that it? You know what I'm talking about? I heard that the technology now is, you know, it's to the point where it's taking medical licensing tests and passing it, and exams that you need. Like and you know, obviously it's a problem in academia, you know, everybody using it to write papers and stuff. What do y'all think about that? 'Cause I know that as far as the nations are trying to, you know, they're pushing for AI as far as on a military scale. I don't know y'all thoughts on that.
Have y'all ever seen the deep fakes?
Yes.
Yeah, those are crazy.
Explain what that is.
So a deep fake is like you can superimpose somebody's image on something else that's not them. So like, for example, first deep fake I seen was Mike Tyson. They put Mike Tyson's head on on some little girl or something like that, but it was him. No, it was her talking, and the AI was able to once they transposed his face on there, the AI was able to make the movements of his mouth appear as if he was saying the words. So you can transpose somebody else's image onto something else to make it look like it's actually them, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, when you see it, it make it look. I mean, when you see a video of it, it's like it's actually kind of scary because you can't say it wasn't me. No, we got you on video. It's you, but it's really not. Yeah. Give me 1 second. If I can find one. I don't know if anybody else had anything on that.
It's so funny. I think there was a commercial. It might be an Old Spice commercial right now with like Dolph Lundgren and like a deep fake grab. Somebody's falling over a railing, and you got like a young Drago from Rocky IV, deep fake face on, you know, this character. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, and my son, you know, my children just watched Rocky IV for the first time, and they're like, is that Drago? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, it looks animated in a way, but you could tell what they were trying to do. So I'm like, man, these people are really like it almost remind me of how I think it was a couple years back too, they had people who were using like fake prosthetic faces, like white people using black people face and going around.
Oh yeah, committing crimes.
Yeah, committing crimes and stuff like that. I'm like, man, people are really like learning how to, you know, dupe this system. And this is just another, you know, crazy sci-fi world and this AI technology. It's really it's dangerous. It's extremely dangerous to people who are just trying to be everyday citizens, and you got people who are behind these computers just, putting you in bank robbery or whatever it is that they're doing, um, and getting you caught up. So you really don't know what you're doing. We don't really know what we're dealing with that yet.
Mhm.
And certain doors just don't need to be open. That's how I am. I'm like, keep the door closed. You letting all the warm air out because this stuff is just starting to get out of hand. It's like it's going to get to a point where they can't control things. It's almost like I heard, I think I read one time the FDA don't know how much meat they have that's cloned out there.
Mm.
So what does that say? That means at one point they understood that there was a certain amount of cloned meat, but now it's gotten too far out. They don't know what percentage of the meat that we're eating are cloned is cloned meat. So it's like certain things you just don't need to open up the door to, because then now you can't control it. Well,
Yeah, I don't know. Trying to find. Give
My,
me one. Oh, go ahead, bro.
my question is that with this AI race thing, like who is the main players and who is ahead of who?
It's nations in general, because that's the next frontier, artificial intelligence. Let me. I was gonna pull up this article. Give me 1 second. I was reading. Man, why? Hold on 1 second, brother. Uh, 1 second. So you mainly have United States and China. This is not the one I was looking for, but give me 1 second. I'm gonna read this first. I'm gonna go to this other one. All right, I'm gonna share it real quick. Give me a second here. So this one says a web exclusive U.S. and China engaged in superpower marathon. The United States and China are engaged in the superpower marathon as Beijing makes massive investments in key technologies such as artificial intelligence, unmanned systems, and 5G networks, said the director of the Pentagon's Defense Innovation Unit, March 23rd. 23. I call it a superpower marathon because I believe that it's a challenge of our time, Michael Brown said during the National Defense Industrial Association's virtual National Security AI conference and exhibition. It's the national security challenge of our generation, and it is probably going to last many, many years. Let me see. I'm going to skip down a little bit. The United States needs to be prepared for multi-generational strategic competition. At the heart of that competition is a technology race. China is really the pacing threat because of the size of its economy and the nation's focus on technology. Because they have like twice as many engineers as, obviously they have so many people. Overwhelmingly the competition between Washington and Beijing is economic. China very smartly has seen that technology is the key to transforming its economy. That's the way it expects to achieve a faster growth rate and also to provide more for its own citizens. Let me go down a little bit. In some areas of artificial, if you look at what they're challenging us in AI, they're a lot closer than we would like in this area. And we need to continue to invest to make sure that we maintain a lead. Areas where China is challenging the United States, lead include artificial intelligence, biotechnology, pharmaceuticals, space launch, quantum computing, quantum sensors, and supercomputing, according to his slides. If you look at the way they are challenging us in AI, they're a lot closer than we would like in this area, and we need to continue to invest to make sure that we maintain a lead. In some areas of artificial intelligence, such as facial recognition, China has already pulled ahead. However, in other areas, such as applying machine learning or sensing data, the United States still maintains the lead. Let's see. NBC. Let me go to this next one. Yeah, so give me 1 second. Let me find this. This is on this site. So this same site, but I found it on one computer and then I didn't find it. Man, I'm on your site. Still can't find it. Well, oh, that's why I'm not on. I'm not on. Go there, go. Orange race. All right, here it is. This is from September of last year. Let's see, here it is. United States could be in a technological disadvantage if China meets its artificial intelligence development goals by 2030. Okay. Special Competitive Studies Project released a new study called Mid-Decade Challenges to National Competitiveness on September 12th. China has and continues to invest heavily in the three battlegrounds for technological superiority: semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and 5G, said CEO Ely Bajraktari of the Defense Writers Group. The report focuses on how the U.S., as a leader in talent, tech companies, and market ideas, is facing a competitor devoting all its resources to taking the lead in the three battlegrounds. The time period of 2025 to 2030 will be an important one for the United States. Many of China's technology advancement plans, such as becoming a global AI leader by 2030, have deadlines during that time. I don't know, brother Austin, had anything else on AI?
I know that when I was in school, that was like the main focus of everybody. That's all they studied was AI. On a basic level, AI is just a mixture of information and algorithms. So you may have an algorithm like a binary search tree or like a bubble sort. That basic fundamental algorithms like that, and then you can combine different algorithms to decide different decisions, and then it can determine whether or not something is whatever you want it to be, or you're to predict a certain outcome or something like that. So that's like the basics of how it works. But I know that's like in academia, that's all that they pushing is AI. Some of the students that I was doing research with, that's all they were studying was AI. I had to study AI for, it wasn't even for like software, it was for an electronic AI at the edge. So it was for electronic devices. That's really all that's in academia right now is AI. So it is a push for it. But yeah.
I was reading this here. It says there are short-term concerns about artificial intelligence that include using AI for misinformation and cyber attacks, but the most serious is biological warfare. For example, soon it could be possible for AI to take large databases of viruses to generate new viruses. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's like it's no good. Like you do, it don't been you come up you have all of these brilliant people come up with this stuff, but it serves humanity no good at all.
Is oh, go ahead, brother. I'm sorry, I was gonna ask a question. Go ahead.
So so China is definitely ahead, but
Yeah.
just like what Brother Austin was saying, that's very interesting. You know that what they're doing with it is not really serving a very good purpose.
Mm-mm. No, it's kind of like you know, like what the Bible said, man, the heart is man is desperately wicked, who could know it? You know, so they don't have the ethical or the moral compass to deal with the technology that they have. You know, I think back to the Tower of Babel, you know, it said, you know, they continue, there's nothing be prevented from them, let's confound their language, you know. But yeah, they're I don't know. I mean, I think China's not totally ahead, but they're catching up in some instances they are, and they're catching up. Like face, I think we just read facial recognition. But I was going to ask Brother Austin on a side note: does AI have anything to do with the thousands of people being laid off at places like Google and I think Amazon? Is that or is that
Yeah, so what I've heard from different articles and YouTube videos is that a lot of these companies are planning on adopting Chat GPT. So
okay?
they're getting rid of a lot of these employees to serve that because some of these employees at these companies, they don't have to work a lot. Like the nature of their job doesn't require them to be there every day.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these companies see them as a liability, and so they're just ushering in Chat GPT and replacement. Like I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Tesla or SpaceX is doing this, but just to give you an example, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, he fired a whole bunch of people,
Yeah,
and
I
he
saw
did
it.
yeah he did that because most of them people in there wasn't doing nothing. They was just sitting around. So you have a lot of people at these companies that do that same thing. They don't really do anything. They make some good money doing what they do, but they don't do anything. So yeah, that's what I've seen. They're getting Chat GPT up in there to get them people out of there. So
What so now they don't need them to write code, right?
nah, it depends on how intricate your code is or what you're trying to develop. But I've seen people develop basic things with Chat GPT, and they can pull features that chat the like scripts that Chat GPT has developed. They can pull things from that script to put inside of their code. So it can perform very basic stuff that is beneficial. And I've heard that Chat GPT is just a baby. I heard that they got some other stuff that's way more advanced than Chat GPT and just hasn't been released to the public. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
read a comment on the Chat GPT today. It said the question people really need to ask is why is it free?
Yes, yes.
Why is it free for everybody
Yes,
to use, and what do they
yes.
really have?
If once people continue to use it, it becomes more and more effective at doing what it's doing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like a monster. You keep feeding it.
you know,
Like
yeah.
this Venus flytrap. Oh, this is nice. You're gonna keep feeding it. Then it's bigger than you. Feed me, see more. It eats you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
yeah.
crazy. All right. What else we can talk about? Did y'all brothers have anything else before? Um,
I'm trying to see. Not on this. I didn't have anything.
you had something on something else?
Now I was trying to look at what we were gonna talk about. Oh, Tyree Nicholas. Further
Yeah.
developments on Nichols.
Yeah. Go ahead. What you want to start off?
Yeah, so apparently Tyree Nichols, it's alleged that he was sleeping with one of the officer's significant other, and so therefore they're saying there's an investigation open to see if this is indeed true. Because if it is, then those officers are going to be facing a higher degree, first degree of murder, because it was premeditated. So if that is true, you know, it's just what can you do?
Yeah, this is certainly a again alleged rumor. But it will be investigated. So this the claim. So they haven't found, at least I haven't seen any evidence of, but you have been seeing it around like on online.
You know,
So they're not calling it false, they just saying it's unverified, which say you have to have a investigation of it. But the brother in the children's class did an excellent lesson, brother Joshua. He was talking about the tongue, and he gave us an anecdote or a story about how in his apartment building, how it was an issue where you had some people going back and forth, and it was a man and a woman, and the man came, because he called his brothers or something, and then they came and killed the man. And it had me going back thinking about certain things that happened that I knew about. Same thing happened with you.
yes.
It's your apartment with a dude come in. He was into it with his girl, and she called her ex, and he come and killed the man.
He came in. He came and shot him, and he didn't look. Thankfully, he didn't die, but he was he came out the apartment building rolling around. He had gotten shot. I think the dude shot him in his leg or something like that. But I just remember hearing those gunshots and screaming, and I was like, man, what's going on? And for that story to later for it to been revealed what happened, man, gotta wise up, man. Gotta wise up.
Remember when I mentioned this before, I told you my house got shot up when I was in college, right? I've mentioned that before. But I don't know if I said, and it made me think about this. I was like, man, the reason those guys did that, it wasn't because we got into it with them. They did that. Okay, we threw big parties, and then we had an after set. And in the after set, they saw girls coming in from the town. So it was girls from all over different colleges in the state, including our own. But then it was some that was just from the town we was in, college town. You throw parties, let girls in, right? But these guys that weren't in no school at all, we saw them like, no, y'all can't get in. So they came back because of that. There was no confrontation really. They were like, no, y'all not getting in. It was no disrespect. But I say all that to say, it came out later that one of the girls that we let in, they knew, and they called her and told her to come leave because they was gonna shoot up the place. And she didn't say nothing.
Wow.
She didn't say nothing and just and left. And it was a number of people got shot, somebody got killed. But it made me think about what guys are doing for women. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like those guys, I mean, that all was spawned because they saw some girls go in that they knew and they couldn't get in. I don't know, the mentality of I don't know. It just made me think, this whole thing made me think of that.
Yeah,
and when that brother said his story, and I knew your story, I know my story, I was like, wow. And then all the fights I've seen a number of fights, as an adult, like, growing up, you see it too, but as an adult, and a lot of those fights, because these dudes are fighting over women, or trying to be seen by women, or trying to Impress it's in their mind, they're thinking it's going to impress them or something like that.
They have no control over their desire.
No self respect. They don't care about themselves. How you gonna lose your life over somebody you ain't even married to? It don't it don't make no sense.
Nah.
You should expect for things to go your way, so you go and shoot somebody or go and kill them. You don't care about yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's the outcome of being raised probably by a bunch of sensitive or in their own nature women. Most of our men are like that, raised in mainly mother head of household homes, and these men grew up around brothers, maybe a few brothers, but a lot of times sister, grandma, mother, and they got that behavior, that very effeminate, you can't talk to me a certain type of way behavior, and they react like women. You see how women act?
Very emotional.
Very emotional. Very emotional. That's how our men are today. That's why they're so quick to pick up a gun. They don't fight no more.
No.
Nobody fighting no more. They ain't trying to get hurt. They weren't about their pretty face getting hurt, breaking a nail or something. Come on. Scrap. You live to see another day, Whatever happened to that? That's gone. Men are too into their feelings, man. And that's why men are pulling out these guns and killing one another. Yeah, and they're not even their wives, man. It's sad situation. You're not even protecting your wife.
Nah. And I think that I don't see it going back because it's such an attack on masculinity to where they're telling you to be less masculine, but to be masculine wouldn't be, you're using logic and all in as much as possible in cases and using intense violence only when necessary, to protect, family or something like that, or to protect the vulnerable. But yeah, they're making you young boys into cupcakes, and people think that's an expression of masculinity to respond like that, shoot somebody because they stepped on your new J's. That's not actually masculine. That is you're emotionally tripping. But yeah,
Right.
Yeah, you tripping. Yeah, it was but I don't know if that's the case. I don't know, man. That's a troubling situation. Go ahead, bro.
What do you all think about what Jason Whitlock said about that incident, and then the artist Sierra's response to it? And it wasn't even Sierra. It was what's that dude's name? Man, I forgot. But it's a whole lot of coonery. You look at the you look at the people on these talk shows and TV shows. What they were saying about Jason Whitlock after he said what he said. They were tripping. They were tripping.
Okay. I don't know if you brothers have heard. I haven't heard. If you wanna respond, you know what he's talking about?
All right. So you go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say I seen an article, but I went past it. I was gonna do something else, and I didn't even read it. I ended up doing something else. But so I don't know exactly what's going on with that situation, but because I didn't read the article or anything like that. So fill me in on that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, go ahead. Yeah,
Jason. For those who don't know, Jason is a sports journalist, and he hosts shows on Rumble where he talks about controversial topics that may be censored by YouTube. So I'm not sure if he did it on there or if he may have did it on a news channel. It was on Fox, but he basically said the tendencies that
Carson Tucker.
It was on Carlson Tucker. Yeah. So he was like, he was saying that basically these cops were showing tendencies of single single family households or something like that, or mother raised households. That's what he was saying. And Sierra got up on there, and I got the exact words right here. Let me just see what she said, because she's insufferable. So let me see what she was talking about. She says, single mother raised 10. Okay. She said that his statement was irresponsible.
Mm-hmm.
But Sierra, y'all know what Sierra about. y'all know she the thing. Come on now. Come on.
Before we say, okay, let me ask you a question. Because and maybe I don't understand nuances of his point. Because I didn't really I just saw a snippet of it. So was he blaming single motherhood in the Black community? He's saying this is a because okay, so he's saying that the guys that beat him were raised by single mamas.
Yes.
That Tyree was raised by a single mother, because that's in the evidence of that. Okay, so evidence of the men, the cops, that they were raised by single mothers is because of their response, or they're led by a single mother, which is the chief of police in Memphis.
Yeah, yes. Some of what he was saying, it did have some fallacies to it.
Yeah.
But that statement, some of what some of it was viable. And I think for her to say that, she's delusional. And then the guy, I forgot the guy's name who responded to it, but he was saying that Jason Whitlock didn't make any sense, or what was he talking about? But his statement was coherent. I understood what he said, and it doesn't take rocket science to be able to do so.
Yeah.
And then he started talking about all different other stuff, which I ain't gonna. You got to see it yourself to really see what he's talking about. But
yeah, we'll go check it out. I saw the one on cross stuff. So I don't if he's saying, that's what I'm saying. Is he, because that's what I wasn't clear on. Is he saying, like you said, watch it before you make a decision about it. Is he saying that they were led by single mothers from, again, as the chief of police, and she like kind of like just how like these boys act, or these men act in the streets when they raised by single mothers? So like they're basically, in other words, their single mother is the chief of police. Is that
no.
What was he saying?
He was strictly saying that they were showing tendencies of men who are raised by single mothers. And then he made
they're literal mothers. Okay.
Yeah, and then he made a separate comment about the chief where he said something about, I think, her relationship status or something. I could be wrong, but
yes.
I know that it was two different comments that he made about the chief of police and then those officers that had killed him. But I just, the coonery, man, it's just at an all-time high. Yeah.
I don't know about that one. I mean, I'd have to look at that. I'm gonna go look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Jason Whitlock is more like, he's definitely not. He was on man. He was he's been a writer for a number of years, and he was on, in the mainstream, and he's gotten out of that. And I've seen him even deal with some Israelites and different things like that. Yeah, he's and he's saying a lot of stuff he's saying. I mean, he's, like you said, you can't say the stuff he's saying in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I saw him talking about men going overseas. I saw that special that he did, or not special, but he did a take on it. And he was saying that, some women have become unmarriageable. Yeah, you can't say that in mainstream. And he said that's why the men are leaving. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna go check it out though. That's
yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out myself.
so what he was saying about men leaving the country to marry, that's alluding to these what, passport bros?
Yeah, no, he did I think he did like, I saw two. He did one, it was pretty long, about an hour or so, I think. And then he did one where he interviewed a brother who did a documentary, Frustrated, that came out in like 2011 or 2010 about men moving to Brazil in search of wives and companions. So he black men in particular. So he touched that topic, that which is something it wasn't in a because when it's addressed in a biased way, as if everybody's doing that is a predator. Which I mean, I think that's a mischaracterization. But yeah, he talked about that, which, you know, I don't know what you brothers think about that.
The passport bro situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Austin Holloman or Hollow something. I saw on Fox News they were criticizing him because he was going overseas to, I guess, he was going to Taiwan, Brazil, and then I think some other place. But I saw the women in Brazil, a feminist that came out and tried to get him killed or something like that. So he ended up leaving there and finding a companion in Taiwan. But the people that were on Fox, they were trying to paint him as somebody who was sex trafficking.
Are you saying Fox or it was a Fox Soul?
It was, I don't know, Fox something. It was Fox something.
I think it was Fox. It was Fox Soul. It was a black man and two black women.
Yeah.
That's Fox Soul. That ain't Fox News, right? Okay. So yeah, it's a different. That's the same thing that, you know, want to say like Vivica Fox and Lisa Ray and some others on that particular.
Oh, I didn't know that. But yeah, it was him on there, and then two other women, and they were talking about him and trying to disparage what he was doing. But the woman had an OnlyFans.
Yes,
OnlyFans.
Yep.
I saw that.
How you can't really critique somebody that's calling somebody a sex trafficker if you got OnlyFans.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You just gotta make it make sense. So, but as far as what they doing, I mean, there's nothing really you could do about the women that's in the United States. So just taking austerity measures by doing what they see fit.
You had some brother.
Yeah, it's like you know, I mean, like the way I see it, certain people, they can get on there and they can make themselves look bad, you know, by certain things that they say, you know. So you got to be careful how you say things, because people, they can take they'll try to twist it or whatever. I think that's what they was trying to do with that young man. And then on top of that, people, you know, it's their business. What they're doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people go across seas, they ain't doing things. You always have to be mindful whenever you go. You got to be not mindful of the area that you're in, because you can be in a very dangerous area. You got to be mindful of the culture. You got to be mindful of the men. You know what I'm saying? When you go over there, because they're different, you know. So people got to be mindful of how they move and how they do things, and everybody who goes over there, you know, like just like you said earlier, you know, they try to make these guys look like they're predators or something. They're just going over there for sex. Everybody's not going over there for sex. There are guys who are actually going over there looking for wives, you know, because of what their experience is here in America and everything. So
it's funny on the flip side of that. I did see a video about some dudes who were going to Africa, like I think in Ghana, and they were pissing off the natives, the men, because these guys were going over there and they were selling these virgins, dreams, about taking them back to America and doing all these other things, and marrying them, and they were just sleeping with them, defiling the women. And the men of the towns were like plotting against Black American men that were going over there now because they didn't see that these men were true to what they were saying they were trying to do. These other men, these men of their culture are wanting to have these women, right? They're waiting their whole lives for, trying to get the right amount of cow and sheep they need to ask for marriage. And then you got some dudes fly over from America promising these dreams and then just defiling a woman. So now these guys are looking at the Black Americans like there's some dirt bags. They're coming over here, they're lying to our women, and they're making it harder for us to be married. So it was kind of like a very dangerous situation for the men in that, and to come to this town now, especially for us Black Americans. You might just be a tourist, and they might just see you as a threat. You're coming over there to violate their women. So you got to be mindful of what you're doing, and you got to be doing it with the right intent, because there are a lot of men who are taking advantage of these women who are looking at you like the come up, like it's a bad situation on both ends. That nobody can really find a mate home. You know what I'm saying? Can't find a mate home.
Yeah, and that's the and again, I didn't see what you're referring to. I'd have to look into it. But obviously there's some shenanigans, as well as some men who are legitimately trying to find, you're gonna have that just like you got that here. Mm-hmm. You are what you are over there or over here. But my thing is, to me, it speaks to the desperate situation between men and women. The fact that you're gonna go to another continent or country, or feel you have to find an acceptable, appropriate mate that has a particular values, which the values that I see are simply traditional values. So that is no longer, that is no longer seen as kosher or appropriate. Even I was preaching on I did a sermon on the familial unit, and I mentioned that I say, I know y'all think that I'm paraphrasing what I said, but I know you think what I'm saying. This sounds like this brother in the 1950s, right? And you can hear the laugh. I'm just be honest, you can hear the laugh because that's so embedded in us, this feminism, And I said, yeah, but I'm talking 1950 BC. I'm talking about BC. You think I'm talking about 1950, 80. I'm talking BC, because you take it back to the book. That's actually the solution to the problem, to the disconnect between men and women. But that speaks to the desperation on both ends. That men would feel they have to do it, and I know men that have done that, and they went for a wife and found one. I know men that were considering that. And also it speaks to the desperation, the backlash for doing it, the response, the demonization, and then to be honest, also the audacity to think that you could tell a man who he could be with, who he could select as a wife. I think that is on a level that's problematic. Yeah, so. Yeah, that's just it. Just made me think about the desperate situation that a lot of men find themselves in being fed up, and we built a society that you could men are not able to, or at least if they express what they want, they're demonized for that, and what they want doesn't seem unreasonable, but they're not going to get it for the most part here. And they're starting to feel that they don't. But then again, I don't know if the people, the number of men that are going overseas, I don't know if it's really that many, that are doing it. You know what I'm saying? How prevalent is that? I don't know. I haven't seen any data on that, so I don't know.
Yeah, people don't got a whole lot people don't got a lot of money, you know what I'm saying, to be going. If they going, there are some people who are going over there overseas to live. You know, some people like going back and forth, you know, and yeah. And you definitely, you know, people, you definitely can't be going over there defiling people if that's what, you know, defiling women if that's what they're doing. If you're gonna be a whoremonger over here, you're gonna be a whoremonger over there. You know that that would give a bad look upon people. You know what I'm saying? Bad look for us.
Well, yeah. And like I said, I'm sure some of that. I'm sure some of it, because like I said, I know somebody, you know, grew up with him. That's what his father did. You know, that was my best friend growing up. You know, so it's just, yeah, it's a desperate situation. You know, it's a desperate situation. For what I don't know if you had anything else on that, brother. Austin.
It's definitely unfortunate, because you should just be able to be with the person that's in your vicinity. But I look at the women that are critiquing these men for doing this, and it's almost as if they're trying to shame them to come back. Yeah, to come back to deal with a situation that's messed up to begin with. I definitely don't agree with them going over there, to have casual sex with women. And if it's somebody that's going over there for a wife, I understand. I heard a man, he said, you're more likely to see your child in another country than you are a child that's in the United States that live right down the street from you. So, and if it's that instance, I understand why men are going to seek wives overseas, but it's just an unfortunate circumstance. There's not much you can do about the system that's here. There's not much you can do about the behavior of the women. So it's an austerity measure that you take by trying to go and find a different solution. So if something doesn't work out, there's no solution to that. You just find something else to do. Like I said, I don't agree with them going over there having casual sex, but I understand why they're going and looking for a wife if that's what they intend to do, because that's just something that would be difficult to do here. But I'm just baffled by the fact of what people are doing to try to shame them. It's like you're not looking at what the actual issue is at all. People just glossing over it.
I don't think they care.
Nah.
I really don't think they care. Yeah, it's not your it's like I said, you don't have a right to desire that traditional like I heard the brother on the Whitlock thing, he was saying I guess he went out with a woman and her food got there, his had got there, and they went out to eat, and she said, she's sitting there, he's like, what you waiting on? Go ahead and eat. She said, I can't eat until you get your food and you eat. She said, you pay for this. This is the least I could do is wait until you have your food. He said he had something on his mouth. E.g. wipe it off. It's just the respect level, and I forgot what I was watching, but I heard a brother talk about, he said, yeah, in the respect that you would show, you won't show to a man here that you're in a relationship with. But if that's your boss, you're going to call him sir and everything else. But even your husband, you call him, you ain't call him that. You ain't call, sir or anything like that. You're not going to show him respect. You're going to call him by his name, whatever that name is. But your boss, you're going to show respect. So it's not like you won't do it for anybody. You're just not going to do it for your spouse. And that's why I said the dynamic is all messed up.
I remember reading the philosophies and opinion of Marcus Garvey, and in there it talked about his wife and what she said about him. She was like, it was an honor to have served my Lord, talking about Marcus Garvey, and the things that she had did for him, I think at one point she put her life on the line for him or
Took
something
a
like
bullet.
that.
The man was trying to
Yeah.
assassinate him. She jumped in the way.
Yeah.
I ain't say she took it, but she was willing to get shot.
Yeah.
I keep talking, but I'm gonna try to see if I can find that real quick. Keep talking.
And then I remember from the autobiography of Malcolm X, I remember Betty had I think she had an opportunity to go to school or something like that. But if I'm not mistaken, she had a different background than Malcolm, but she had an opportunity to do something different with her life, but she had gave that up so that she could be married to Malcolm. And I remember him saying that was like what that was what really did it for him as far as marrying that woman, because she saw that she was willing to take a sacrifice for him. And then I remember I guess the other women that was in the Nation of Islam was like, you got him. So it's just, I mean, it's women like that. You'd be far-fetched to find. So.
Yeah, that's a real ride or die. Like how they say, yeah, it's something else.
Yeah, I have to find it, brother. I thought it was moving. It got shuffled around, but yeah. But yeah, that level of respect, that's actually, when you think about it, even biblically, that's what you want. But that's not what you get. Certainly not what's happening. Yeah. I want to read something real quick. Give me a second. It's 1 Peter. When 1 Peter 3 and verse 1, it says, but even if you start at chapter 2, I mean, if you read this in context, if you listen to what it says in chapter 2, and peace to you, brother Lawson. I ain't speak to you, brother. Peace to you. 2 and 20. Let's see, 2 and 21. It says, for even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that we should follow his steps, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth, who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judged righteously, who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sin should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes ye were healed. Then he said, for ye were as sheep gone astray, but are now returned unto the shepherd and bishop of your souls. Okay. So if you start reading this, even, he talks about submission. Okay. He talks about submitting to ordinances and for the Lord's sake, whether it be for the king or supreme. And then he says, likewise, ye wise. So the whole thing is talking about submission unto one that's in power. Then he says, ye wise, be in subjection to your own husbands, that if any obey not the word, they also may be without the word, be won by the conversation of the wise. So he can be won over by your behavior. Then he says, whose adorning, let it not be that outward adorning of plaiting the hair and of wearing of gold or putting on of apparel. So he's saying it's not about, the adornment that you have, or you braiding your hair or wearing gold or putting on the clothing. He said, but let it be the hidden man of the heart. So even, and I'm not saying that woman was in the word with that man he was dealing with, but that was humility. And that's what he's talking about. He says, in that which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit. which is in the sight of God a great price. So he's saying that's what women should exhibit. He said, for after this manner in the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves. So they were the same way, being in subjection unto their own husbands. He said, even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters ye are, as long as ye do well and are not afraid with any amazement. So, when you look at that, it's like, are they, is that what you see when you look at relationships, that level of respect? Not at all. I don't even, so she looked at her husband in that way. And again, these are not women in the word, I'm not saying that, but like it's how she viewed him, he was in high esteem. Even part of me thinks like that's why even, it's beneficial for some to marry women that are younger. For a number of reasons. I'm talking about, of adult age. I'm saying like that is a healthy gap in age because of how she's more likely to view you in a role like that, in a position of authority. I'm not talking, obviously I'm talking about adults, you know what I mean? Just make that clear. But yeah, that's why that's beneficial. But yeah, that's not what you see. And as far as this, calling them Lord, I mean, women are not going. I'm not saying they won't do it, but most won't.
Yeah.
You'd be fortunate they call you by your name, Leroy.
Oh.
Yeah. Is you gonna say something?
When Brother Austin mentioned about the what's her name? She was willing to die for who is it? Marcus Garvey?
Mm-hmm. Amy. Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of make me think, Jake says, although that person was not in the truth or anything like that, but even, if the man is supposed to be like Christ and the church, the woman is supposed to be like the church.
Mm-hmm.
Are we also expected to die for Christ when it comes down to it? Like we have a love because he died for us first.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this love, you know what I'm saying? That's a powerful. That's something that that's a powerful. That's powerful. You know what I'm saying? Like whenever you really think about that, if a woman was willing to also die for you, we're expected to die for our wives and our children. But if that, the woman is also willing to die for you, that love is like, I think that's kind of the way that it should be because, somebody broke into your house, both of y'all got to protect it. It's y'all household,
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna tell my wife to get the kids, and I'm gonna go handle what it is. But yeah, if the reality is like, you wouldn't even question whether or not you're supposed to obey God. If somebody asks you, are you supposed to obey God? A believer say absolutely, male or female, absolutely. But just how you obey God, that's how you're supposed to obey your husband. When it comes to that, they're like, no, I ain't really rocking with that. I don't see that, so we see what we want to see. Just like man could not understand that you're supposed to love a woman like Christ loved the church. You don't see that. So yeah, we see what we want to see. I don't know if you had anything else, brothers. It's getting late. Nothing else?
Y'all doing all right?
Yeah, bro. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm tired, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully y'all been doing all right.
Thanks, brother. You're doing well. Oh, well, I appreciate you, brothers, and Lord willing, because you come, brother. You come. I know, Willie. You say you coming for the Passover, right? You still coming, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, cool. Austin, if you could stay on for a minute after we close it out. All right, then. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down, and I appreciate you, brothers. coming on, and we'll speak soon.
All right, family.
Y'all be
Peace to
safe.
y'all. Be safe out there.
Peace.
y'all.
You too, y'all be
Peace,
safe.
everybody.